What is going on, everybody? So, welcome to my, I guess, just post game reactions. Yes, I know it's a little bit late at night, so, yeah. So, how do I go off about this? Yeah, it's disappointing. The thumbnail says speaks for itself. I'm not really going to get much into it, other than the fact that Thompson really made the mistake of putting Kimbrel back in for the second time, which really shouldn't have. And to be fair, it's getting to the point where I think a lot of Phillies fans have had enough of Kimbrel. What's going on, Chris? What's going on, Daniel? Appreciate you guys coming in. Um, yeah, like I said, I'm not really going to go much, you know, get too much into it, but I will say the Diamondbacks, I will say, got lucky because of our mistakes. Um, I'm not really going to make too much. I'm not going to make any excuses about it. We played like complete crap. Um, and it's yeah. I mean, like I said, there's no sugarcoating it. At some point, Campbell's got to go. Plain and simple. Should never be even. And honestly, I'm going to put blame on Dombrowski even picking Campbell up in the first place. Really, just on a 1 year deal, doesn't really do it for me for a guy that is a shell of his former self. Hasn't been really much what he once was back during his time in Atlanta. Um, but I think all in all, I really I'm really fed up with it, and I'm fed up with the patheticness, the loser mentality that this team has shown me the last couple of games, and now the fact that the Bats decided to wake up in the second half of this game, because like the first two games, I mean, I think what combined tonight and the night before, we're striking out 17 times as a team, hardly ever taking any walks. The number speaks for itself, and I kind of felt bad for Bryce. I really do. I do feel for Bryce Harper. Another year, no matter how good we can be, I have a feeling we're going to find a way to fall short. It's like I said, it's been 15 long years without a World Series here in Philadelphia. And so honestly, I have no faith. Um, and it really hurts, for a team. And look, I've been a diehard Phillies fan for as long as I can remember. It really sucks to see a team, and the fact we had to go to the bullpen game, unless real, should never have happened. But I still do think Dombrowski got to get more pitching because, for me, I don't think Sanchez is the answer for me long term. No, yes, it sucks that we're not going to have Andrew Painter for another year. Because of obviously recuperation from Tommy John. You know, and there's a lot of things I want to kind of go over. Which I did a little bit of an Instagram live, but I want to actually talk more on it here. But first thing, GG's to the Diamondbacks. You really made her pay for her mistakes. Um, it just seems to me that, and I even talked this too. There's a lot of things I can point the finger to. Definitely Caleb Cotham for me I think should get portion of the blame because I even said like the fact that his philosophy is not really sitting with some of these guys. The fact they're not going to be working the fastball early, and we saw that with some of these guys. Kirkering, he's got to stop being so slider heavy, and I do think coaching will have to have to help him with that and stop relying. You can't really rely on one pitch. And number two, at the same time, I think some of these guys in this bullpen need to learn at least a third or fourth pitch. And yeah, RC, like I said, Kimbrel, like I said, Kimbrel's is a shell of himself. And I'm not gonna say what's going on, all Maisie. And look, I'm not going to say, like, I'm not going to make straight excuses. We all play like, the entire Phillies play like crap. It is what it is. It's 2 games in a row that we play like this. It's obvious to me that some of these guys don't want it. And crap, or hell, let's put it this way. Let's say the Diamondbacks made the World Series. That should tell you that the Diamondbacks want it more than we do. And yet, we haven't really shown what this team can be. And the fact we had to go with Sanchez, which I had no issues with because I'm not a huge fan of Sanchez, but Sanchez as the fifth guy has not really been favorable in my eyes. And yes, he has a stretch where he has pitched some really good games, but that really doesn't really mean much to me because at times he, for whatever reason, just seems to want to lose command. It just doesn't really. There's a lot of things going on with it that I think a lot of coaching can fix. But at the same time, when you have guys like Kimbrel, who's been the block around long enough to realize not to fuck around and find out, which an RC Game 5 is tomorrow with Zach Wheeler on the bump, and both bullpens are wrecked. And that's the biggest key right now is for both sides. The bullpens are going to be wrecked. So it's going to be Zach Gallen and Zach Wheeler going in rematch of Game 1. Right now, I guess you could say this is kind of the, not say like the end all be all, but I will say this is a make or break series for either the Phils, the Diamondbacks, or the Diamondbacks, because the winner of that game goes back to Philadelphia either up 3-2 or down 3-2. Excuse me. Marsh came up to show up to play. Schwarber showed up to play. Bohm had a couple of hits, couple RBIs, came up to play. Stott, for whatever reason, is looking like deer in headlights right now so far this postseason. Minus that grand slam he had back in the wild card. And quite honestly, and I love Stott, but he's been nothing but a fucking liability offensively. And it sucks to say for a kid who, and yes, I know last year me and Tyler kind of really harped on it for being absolute dog water, but it's just one of those things. I don't know, man. It really sucks. And yeah, I know I won't. Let's be real. I can't be too loud because obviously I'm with my dad for the weekend. So, but all in all, Kimbrel's got to go. And like I said, to already touch more on that. Kimbrel, for some reason, for me, has to go. I think he should be the main priority. Oh, him and Kale Coffin too. Because I don't think Kale and Coffin. I think Bohm actually played. Yeah, minus that error in early. I thought I probably played up pretty okay offensively. I think he's just pressing too hard. Some of these guys are pressing too hard, and that's the thing that's against a how do I say it? Like a scrappy Diamondbacks team. You don't really want to see that, and it really hurt. It really sucks. Like I know I'm going to repeat myself, but there's a lot of things I want to take away from this game. Out of the fact that you get tied the series two games apiece. You got game 5 as the quote unquote make or break it to depending the wish up to momentum. But right now the momentum is in favor of Arizona. Whether a lot of Phillies fans like it or not, it's in the favor of Arizona. Because right now Arizona has taken 2 at home. And yeah, I know there's a lot of excuses that I've seen from a lot of Phillies fans saying, "Oh, the stadium's a problem." And yes, I know the umpire is a bit a part of that. And yeah, obviously the the strike zone has been all over the place. Trust me. I mean, we've seen it throughout the entire postseason. Well, minus the wild card, by the way. But from the division series up till now, the strike zone has been, depending on who you have for the umpire behind the plate, has been nothing but short of terrible. And the fact that you have and you can tell that the American League has better umpiring, and somehow the National League gets stuck with guys like Dan Iasonia. Mike McClinsky has not been that impressive behind the plate. Like I said, there was a lot of problems today, but obviously the Phillies were constantly shooting themselves in the foot. For those wondering what I mean by that, obviously not attacking early, not scoring any runs until and the runs that come to the second half of the game, where he only put up 5, where you could have put up so much more. At the same time, pitching for some reason let you down. Jose, Orion, Craig Kimbrel. But the only one out of that bullpen that actually pitched pretty well was Seranthony Dominguez. And and really, and like I said, and I agree, RC. And and the scene that's where the problem is. Like we get so. And Chris, I appreciate that, but for me, I got no faith at this point because knowing that the favorite is in Arizona's court for this last game in Arizona before we go back to Philly. And I do like Zach Wheeler. I think I have some confidence in him, but in terms of the offense and the rest of the bullpen work, I got no confidence. And that's not saying to guys like Trey, who came showed to play, Alec Bohm, despite the error, had a couple of hits, couple of RBIs. Brandon Marsh with probably the biggest RBI of the postseason was the game tying RBI. Um, to be fair, and Rojas, got it all started with the triple and all that. It's for me, it's like I said, there's a lot of problems that went wrong. This is 2 nights in a row where the Phillies shot themselves in the foot in terms, and that's always been our biggest Achilles heel. Not scoring any, not getting insurance runs, which nowadays that's hard to come by because you guys want to, these guys are getting paid millions to. And yes, I know hitting the baseball is probably not the easiest thing to do in the world. Trust me, I know. But I'm going to say, credit the Diamondbacks. Took advantage of our crappy pitching, I would say. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of blame to go around. I seen Topper getting some blame, Cotham, Jose, Kimbrel for sure gets majority of the blame for screwing up as he did, and I think him and Jose have to be held accountable to the extent. But yeah, Topper does get a little bit of blame for kind of obviously going to Hoffman early, which should not have happened. And I'm really sick and tired of these damn bullpen games that we have to go through every time with Sanchez starts. And that was the one thing that I've talked about, and especially in the past, was the fact that knowing that you're going to have Sanchez. Okay, what I mean by that at times is the fact that every time when Sanchez pitches, not just the regulars, but every time when Sanchez was in the pitch of the regular season, it's always a bullpen game. And and it's bad enough that you have a young kid Kerber who, quite honestly, the last few games has not been that impressive, which sucks to say. But I do think that kid needs some more work. Dominguez actually looked pretty solid, and I think he's been solid all postseason. Now, yes, I mean he has given up a run or two, but he's not that kind of guy that will implode like an Alvarado, like a Kimbrel. Well, let's more like a Kimbrel, by the way. But Kimbrel's a whole another conversation to be had, in its own right, in its own right. And at some point, and I even said, I even put blame on Dombrowski picking up Kimbrel. We really didn't need a guy like Kimbrel. But yet, the fact that you want to go by closer by committee, which, quite honestly, sounds like a lot of bullshit. I really, and look, and don't get me wrong, that was a ball. But like I said, right now we stuck with two crappy umpires the last couple of games, both with Dan Iasonia, well, most of it, anyways, and Mike McClinsky. Now, yeah, and I even talked to, and there's a couple. I think that there's one Twitter account that actually showed that the numbers for. Nah, trust me, RC. I know what you really meant by that. But Dane Iasonia was not one of the was ranked one of the lowest umpires in terms of what you have, and that's not really saying much because you have another guy, Angel Hernandez, who is flat out terrible, and and I'm not gonna really make excuse because let's bro, that's a crappy excuse. Now, yes, there were some calls that were missed. Don't get me wrong, but where, like I said, the Phillies constantly shot themselves in the foot, leaving runners on, never want to put insurance runs on. The fact you put up 5 against it tonight, it's good and whatnot, but that's still not enough to really put this game on ice to go into Game 5 up 3-2 with an opportunity to take this game, or actually 2-1 or 3-1 actually, and take this and take Game 5 with Zach Wheeler, knowing how bad the bullpen's going to get wrecked on both sides. That is, so Max fans, I'm not going to still do anyways. But knowing if you really cannot get anything going tomorrow, it's pretty much just over. Like I said, I have no confidence. I really don't, because it sucks. Because I have not seen a World Series since 2008, and I was about 11 the last time I saw a World Series, and I'm 26. It's been 15 long years. Oh, trust me, it stung. Trust me, RC. I know it's we always beat ourselves occasionally. And going back to what I said earlier, I'm 26 years old, going on 27, and going into next year. It's been 15 long years without a World Series here in the city of Philadelphia. And knowing that the fact that Bryce is one of our biggest acquisitions in terms of free agency, and yet somehow we fell short. Well, I'm not really going to get ahead of myself, but the way how this series has played out so far through 4 games, honestly, I'm going to be disappointed. And it's going to lead to me to believe, if I'm Dombrowski, I'm going to be looking at this, going to, if we somehow lose the series or go into the World Series, kind of the plans, like, what changes should we make? Definitely like Kimber Walk, that's for sure. Definitely have to find a new pitching coach at some point, because I really do think, and yeah, trust me, Chris, it's been a long fucking time since we've seen a World Series here. Look, I've seen a World Series in my lifetime, a Super Bowl, but the only two other two championships I haven't seen in my lifetime was a Stanley Cup from the Flyers and the championship by the Sixers. But that's irrelevant right now. But in terms of the Phillies, anyways, it really stinks, quite honestly. And you know, the fact you were up 5-2, you have Orion. Like it's like, go back to my thing of Orion. Like I said, I'm not hating on the kid, but he's got to have to work on and not being so slider heavy and start working, working on his fastball, because the fastball is there between 98 and 99. You can't really use that because you want to use that sweeper or slider, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Almost like 90% of the time with a 10% fastball rate. I don't know what the numbers are, but I could care less. And it really does suck. Because it never does get, like, Philly sports. It's never easy in this town. Trust me, RC. I want to be positive as much as I can, but I really can't. And guys like Bryce, Kyle Schwarber, Trey Turner, for crying out loud, who in the first half of the year was fucking garbage. I'm flat out admit that. But in the second half, was one of the key crucial pieces to help clinch this top wild card spot. And Turner actually had an okay game. Same with Schwarber, Alec Bohm, and you know, Stott looked like a deer in headlights. And yet, I know it's one pitch and one inning at a time, but knowing the Phillies at occasional times will shoot themselves in the foot is doesn't really inspire confidence in me. I really don't. It's just one of those things. I can't believe in this team at this point. Knowing that you got a make or break game in Game 5, win or loss in that, you're already up 3-2 or down 3-2. Going back to Philly for 2 games and knowing what the guys have done, and you're going to face probably Brandon Pfaadt for Game 7. Do you really want to have to put that through there? And and that's the thing too. Brandon Pfaadt he has reverse splits. When you looked at his numbers, like, he's got like a 5-something ERA at home, and somehow pitches well on the road. And it's getting to the point where shit's got to change. I'm not saying we have to go through a manager change and stuff like that, but I do think we need a new pitching coach. I think that has to be on the mind of Dombrowski. But and I even said on my IG live, if Cotham is back for another year, It's gonna be another. It's gonna be a rough year for the pitching staff. At the pitching staff in the second half has been nothing but short of solid. That's not including Kimbrel. Kimbrel, for all I care, can go kick rocks for all I care. And it really does sting. The fact that we're a 5-2 with an opportunity to win this, to go up 3-1, going into game 5, with Zach Wheeler on the bump, and with the bats starting to wake up, which should never have happened in the second half. Well, it's I don't know. Like it's really hard to describe of how pissed off and very angry that I am with this team. Because I've been a Philly sports fans for years. Whether it's mostly you know what I mean. For those who've been around, I don't blame you for that, man. The dude, for Kimbrel, for all I care, like I said, could care less. He could pack his bags out of Philly and just go into retirement at this point. Because like I said, he's washed. And you're gonna be one of those and to die. And it really sucks, man. I want to see a World Series championship for the first time in 15 years. 15 years that I've never seen. And yes, it's like, oh, you see the Super Bowl. Yes, I get that. I know. But in terms of the World Series, I've not seen that since I would in 15 years. And it stinks, man, because and yes, last year we got gas because it was our inexperience in the postseason. Granted, I'm not. That's the biggest takeaway I had from last year. But now we're somewhere accustomed to pitching or hitting the postseason. What else can we do? All the stuff that we put up, or the records we set, are going to go for naught, and we lose to an inexperienced Diamondbacks team who has not been to the postseason since 2017 and has not won a World Series since 2001. That's all I'm saying. And to be fair, it hurts me as a Phillies fan, just seeing a team that I think this team can win the entire damn thing, just shoot themselves in the foot. Whether Phillies fans like it or not, even we're live on Twitter as well, through Twitter's Periscope or whatever, I don't think what they call it now. But I don't know, man. It's really hard to really describe how upset I really am. Like I said, I really can't really raise my voice a little bit because number one, I don't want to really call off, and number two, it's after 1 o'clock in the morning, and it is very disappointing to see a team that finally breaks a 91 season since 2011, which is great to see. And all of a sudden, in games 3 and 4, decide to quote unquote shit the bed and decide to shoot themselves in the foot and actually want to wake up in the second half of games because now I see some complacency with some of these guys and they're pressing too much. Caleb Cotham, I don't know what the fuck he's telling these guys, but what's telling these guys, it's not working. It's not working. Some of these guys, and yeah, yeah. I mean, look, Alvarado has been a solid arm in this series, and yeah, that was probably one of the worst moments he's had. But I'm not really going to put and look, yeah, and Alvarado deserves portion of the blame, but I think he shares the same amount of blame that Kimbrel does, because Kimbrel should should never have been. Like I said, I was very skeptical from the beginning of having Kimbrel with the team, and I actually really thought this was going to work out. First half, fucking fantastic. That's where the second half comes in, and he just has not really picked up where he left off. Sorry, I had something almost came up, but you know, as a long-time Phillies fan, it's it sucks. Like I said, I'm not really going to sugarcoat it. It's an ugly loss again. That is too long. So right now we are 7-3 right now. And yes, people say, "Oh, you guys are 7-3 in the postseason." Well, that's great. But what has it really shown the last couple of games? Failure. I know, and I'm pretty sure Bryce is kind of pissed off at the way this because Marsh did what he could. Rojas, well, remains to be seen because I mean he's still a rookie. Bryce, I don't know, he's trying to press a little bit. I mean, Kyle Schwarber got it off with the solo homer, but Christopher Sanchez, quite honestly, I'm don't want to see him back in this rotation. You know, as much as I hate to be pessimistic, I guess you can say, I just don't want to see Christopher Sanchez in this rotation for the time forward. Whether we go into the all season, going into 2024, or we go to the World Series and we have to unfortunately have to rely on him, which I really don't want to, knowing the fact that he's going to go for good for 2, 3 innings. No, none of that opener bullshit. Let him go. If you can go at least 5 without giving up a run, and the offense can't do nothing. Well, I'm sorry. I hate how some of these managers think nowadays. And as much as it pains me, to be fair, it's very fucking stupid. And with that, all in all, let's just try to get Game 5 and force it going back to force a Game 6 in Philadelphia. And with that being said, guys, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And let's hopefully force a Game 6. And that being said, have a good night, guys.